Okay, we're going to start with this little tapping exercise. I think it's always a good way, especially like in in the morning. It's always a good way just to start the process of preparing and waking up. So, clubbing your hands together, then you get a little bit warm, and then with the pads of your fingers tapping lightly over your face. Keep a nice, light, steady rhythm, covering as much of your face as you're comfortable with. And then work up over your head. I use the palms of my hands here, forehead to neck. And then going with the palm of my hand, a bit stronger on the shoulder and the inside of the arm, not the outside. The other side. Once your back, very light on the back, just as much of your back as you can comfortably get to. And then around your hips. And there's no special reason for this order, it's just the order I happen to do it in. Yeah. Covering as much of the body systematically as you can. Coming up to your belly, the light again on the belly. And then perhaps a little bit stronger on the upper part of your chest. And then give your hands a little bit of a shake. So just stand now, feet hip width apart. Keep it nice and comfortable. Don't strain for this. Try and just let your hips drop back slightly, almost like you're just resting on the edge of a table or on a wall or something, and begin to turn in the central part of the body, the area between pelvis and waist. Just a small movement with a sort of intention that what we're trying to do at this point is just move and find a posture to move in that allows space for that movement. Trying not to stiffen up in hips, shoulders, back. But remember, this is the initial stages. So quite often when we start off doing something like this, we get notice a tightness somewhere or something like that. Just go nice and easily. With a nice steady rhythm again. Trying to feel that everything comes from the central part of your body, and that central part of your body is beginning to drop towards the ground. In part, this is a simple change of perspective from a focus of attention that is largely hardwired into the upper part of our body to one that encompasses our feet, our legs, our hips. People more familiar with these arts, there'll be a familiarity with feeling when you start to move in this more holistic way, or our whole body rather than just parts of our body. This is part of the important preparation for the later exercises. And with these slightly faster exercises, they do offer sometimes a more sort of immediate feedback, the effect of rhythm and movement than some of the slower exercises. And they also offer a place, if you like to think of it like that, for our attention to come to rest, for our attention to come into our bodies. So that, again, an important part of this preparation is this gentle gathering of our thoughts, of our attention into our movements, our posture, practice in general. So the time of practice becomes one very much focused initially on our bodies, on movement, the flow of energy in our bodies, as a sort of base for body and mind. We don't want to cut ourselves off from whatever's going on outside. But there's just a sense of stepping back a little bit. So letting your breathing come nice and easily, however is comfortable for you to do so. An additional exercise, I've done with some of you a bit before, just a little sort of gentle bouncing in your hips. Probably can't see. It's just this, so notice I'm not bending the knees a lot, just shaking the body. It's almost like you're sort of shaking out a duvet or something like that. You're just trying to get a bit of movement through the whole of your body, and add to that the turning movement you're just doing. This is a good way of waking up or releasing what we sometimes refer to as stagnation, that sense of being a little bit stuck and, again, in the morning, maybe not quite up to speed yet. It's a very gentle exercise, but trying to feel that movement really from the soles of your feet to your shoulders. And if you can comfortably add an extra movement, just letting your arms bend at your elbows so that your hands go up and down. We're sort of waking up the energy. And still with that shaking feeling. Next movement, you don't turn, but just place your hands here on your kidneys, one hand or both hands, press in gently. So that as you're bouncing up and down, sort of focusing the movement into that area of your kidneys and your lower back. It can become quite stiff, and the kidneys are seen as being a really important part of the body's processes, sometimes described in Chinese medicine, being like the boiler house of the body. Now, keeping the width of your step forwards with one foot, just a gentle movement from the ground, letting your body turn. So we're just going through a process of finding a posture again that allows for movement, and we'll look a bit more closely at that in a few moments. And moving a little bit just to sort of activate the body's energy a little bit. And it's just, these exercises are very gently aerobic, so you probably find that your breathing just increases quite gently, taking in more oxygen. There are lots of these exercises, lots of variations. So there's plenty of information out there on these. Always a good morning practice, I think, these exercises. It doesn't require too much in the way of focusing. So as that oxygen gets to the brain, that will gradually improve on. And then on the other side. Okay. So coming back to the parallel posture, feet are hip width apart to support your hips. That means your hips can support your shoulders. And just begin to gently rock your weight forwards and backwards. You're pivoting from your ankles. So the first thing we notice is if we go too far, that will happen, or your body will stiffen up. So moderate the movement a little bit until you don't feel that that is going on in your body. Try not to turn this into an exercise where you're bending from your hips or your neck. I'll show you with this pole, if you can see this, I'll place it on the ground there. Then as I move forwards and backwards, I'm remaining sort of connected in line with the pole. I'm not doing something like this or this. It's quite a small movement of your weight in your feet. And one of the things that we're trying to do with this exercise is just come to a position where that imaginary line, that pole, is upright. So in theory, I could just arrange this pole so it was on the ground and then I could walk away and that wouldn't happen. In practice, of course, that's much harder. And you begin to get a sense for this point of equilibrium. And one way of steadying the pole, excuse me, one way of steadying the pole would have been to have had the kind of guy ropes you get on tents to support it a little bit more. And we can think of our muscles, our tendons, our fascia as all part of that same system. So we end up with a posture where the effort of maintaining an upright posture gets more spread evenly throughout the body. Obviously, our legs are taking the lion's share of the effort when we're standing like this, but also our back is supporting the front of our body. We have a skeleton as well, which supports us from inside. And all of these are really two-way processes, particularly with the skeleton. The skeleton supports the soft tissue, but like the guy ropes of a tent and the skin of a tent, the soft tissue will also support the skeleton. So gradually coming to rest in that position and trying to maintain this as much as possible through the exercises. This is the quality of central equilibrium. And arguably, everything that we do from now on, we're trying to find ways to maintain and to cultivate that quality in mind and body. So beginning by just letting the hips sink back a little bit and then pushing. Don't go too far down, especially not to begin with. Try not to hold tightness in your lower back and your belly, because as we go down, in order to maintain that central equilibrium, our pelvis needs to adjust. If I pull my belly in and tighten my back and I let my hips drop back, I very quickly find myself being pulled back. And if that's happening to you, then just moderate the movement a little bit. Don't let the hips drop back too far. Trying to maintain this upright position. And some of that is obviously very physical, but we also want to have an idea of tension here. The intention is to maintain that posture, to maintain those qualities as we move. We're trying to root down, to drop our center of gravity down. And this is also very much crucial to the posture. We align with the pull of gravity. And then we try and let our center of gravity drop. And the lower our center of gravity, the more stable we will be. The lower our center of gravity, the less demands we make, particularly the upper part of our body to carry our weight. So again, the overall effect is to begin to lose some of the tightness in our bodies. Create, again, that feeling of spaciousness. And just a sense that, it's like a wave coming up through the body, filling the body up, and then draining away again. Feeling your body expanding a little bit and contracting. You can feel like the wave comes from the ground. And bring your hands around as though you're facing the ball. And as you push up, just letting your elbows push out, turn them over, let your hips sink, shoulders drop, pressing them on down. Pushing up. Let the pace of the movement be set by what's happening in the hips. And you can see from the side, my hips drop back and my shoulders drop. My arms follow. I turn my hands over. My hips get pushed up. My shoulders go up. My arms follow. A nice, smooth, flowing progression of movement upwards and downwards. You may find that your breathing quite naturally fits in with this rhythm of expansion and contraction, breathing in as you push up, out as you sink down. If you find that your body's preferring to breathe in a different way, then go with that. You're not going to hurt yourself if you have a different breathing pattern. And in general, I would say, particularly for beginners, if you're new to this and you haven't had particular instruction in the breathing, what we're trying to do is to let our body move as naturally as possible and to let the breathing come as naturally as possible. You're watching this and you do have a sense of maybe taking the breathing a little bit further. Taught that from somewhere, from myself or some other teacher, then feel free to begin to integrate that if you can do so without it creating tension. My habit is that I will every now and then just check in deliberately with my breathing, but with these exercises, I'm not trying to maintain a rigid breathing pattern. This time, at the bottom of the movement, rotate your arms so your hands push out. This is the wild goose. So the image of the bird in flight may convey quality. Again, people with more experience in these exercises, you'll have your own memory of the effect of the image, what's appropriate. Our bodies do respond quite naturally to different images, if it's the right image. But particularly newer people, if you're struggling to sort of work with a particular image, don't do that. If an image isn't working for you, then just let it go. Focus your attention elsewhere, maybe on the mechanics of the movement. The images are there to enhance the movement. With more experience, sometimes it's interesting to follow up an image and to investigate it when appropriate. To the wild goose. One more time. As you come down, this time letting your arms drop, feel the weight of your arms as they come to their full length, tossing in front of your belly, pushing up, elbows drawing your hands around gently, just parting the clouds. So, nice expansive feeling of the exercise. Not straining for the movement, moving as far as you're comfortable. And in general, with all of these movements, at the very sort of edge of how far we've gone, try and feel that you could have gone a little bit further. So we preserve this sense of space within the body that allows the movement, the energy to flow freely, uninhibited. One more time. As your arms come down, this time letting them drop down to their full length, again aware of the weight of your arms. And as you push up, focusing on one side, pushing your elbow out, drawing your fingers up, wind around as though you're plucking something off the tree. Gently down. Use that side off and then transfer your attention to the other side. Pushing up your hand just slightly in front of your shoulders, so try not to lean back. This is called Dragon Plucks the Stars from the Sky. Extending right the way through your body. One of the images I sometimes use for myself with this is that I'm standing on a large elastic band, just letting it push out and then contract very slowly. Try not to stiffen up in your shoulders. If you find that's happening, make it a slightly smaller movement. One more time. And drop down, and this time split with your arms, and go back to the simple swinging exercise, but letting yourself just come to a halt, noting your posture as you do so. Your legs are looking the shape. So gradually developing a posture that allows for this internal movement. These are very subtle changes within the body, and it's an ongoing process. This always feels to me as though there is actually no end to this process. So trying to maintain that posture for the next couple of exercises, we don't actually go up and down, but we do try and keep this feeling of dropping back, allowing gravity a free flow through our body, just pulling our hips back a little bit, and at the same time recognizing that our body responds to that with an upward movement. So we get a very fundamental cycle of movement, cycle of energy, constantly moving through the body. This is one of the principal energetic dynamics of the art, where we're trying to maintain this posture and to work with the movement that is allowed by it. So here in this posture, weight a little bit forwards if possible, hips dropping back, bring in your hands so that they're just beside your hips, the inside of your hand or your arm touching the outside of your hips very light. And then pushing up, just feeling the extensions through your back. Again, there's this slight sense of your hand being in front of your body, and then slowly back down, coming back, and again, just lightly touching the sides. And then pushing out to the sides, again, hands slightly in front, so we want to avoid pulling our hands back. And just do a few rounds of that, your body expanding, returning to the center, contracting, and then expanding out. And as you bring your hands back, just noting again that's that center part of the body dropping towards the ground. And from that point of awareness, just in a way looking out, looking upwards into the upper part of the body, noting that the patterns of movement, of expansion and contraction, whatever they happen to be. And this leads us into this awareness of the flow of energy through the body. This time, as you push out to the sides, turning just a little bit, redirect the arms, and then bringing your attention back, feeling that dropping towards the ground, in the direction and back. And as your attention comes in and drops towards the ground, there's just this growing sense, hopefully, that you're just taking a moment to let your thoughts settle again. It is inevitable that we get drawn away. Our thoughts get drawn away from an awareness of the body. We have busy lives and things going on in the world around us that attract our attention. And again, we're not trying to push those away. We just step back a little bit for a moment. In that moment of stepping back, again, a little bit more aware of what's going on in our body, and a little bit more able to direct our intention into those movements. And in this way, we start to bring together three aspects of ourselves. One is obviously the physical body, the postures, the movements, physical changes within the body. Another is the awareness of those. And the third is the actual movement, the flow of the energy, the patterns within. And these three elements combining really into one. Body, mind, and energy as one unit. This exercise is simply called cushioning for direction. You begin to notice there are still areas of tightness, blockage. Then, with that more focused attention, we can bring up an intentionality to those areas. We want them to release. We want the tension, the tightness to begin to dissolve away, as though those areas were being very gently massaged by them. And in this way, we begin to see really how that focused intention influences our physical movements and vice versa. Last time, pushing out to the sides. And then your hands come in, dropping down again, aware of the weight of your arms. And again, focusing on one side. So the movement pushes your arm away and it swings up until it's in line with your nose and then straight down. And again, an outward rotation, trying not to stiffen up in your shoulder. You might want to imagine somebody gently pressing down on your shoulder so that it can't rise up. Just noting how your body can find an alternative pathway for the movement in those circumstances. This time, when you get to the top, just turn a little bit. Turn again, it's from the center of your body. One more time. And then changing sides, expanding through the opposite side of your body. You may notice the difference between one side of your body and another, especially on a physical level, if one shoulder's stiff. Try and get that feeling that rather than straining for the movement, just allow the expansion to move your arm for you. Again, with that massaging quality of movement. So that the movement, the energy begin to flow into those blocked areas. And again, let's add in the tone. Good, excellent. So far, all the movements we've done, and most of the movements that we do are done in an upright stance. And one of the key elements in maintaining that without straining is the alignment of our pelvis. If as we stand here again, weight a little bit forwards, try not to stiffen up in pelvis, lower back, and belly. If we just begin to tilt the pelvis forwards and backwards, very gently, not too far, we can begin to see how when we move vertically in that center part of the body, we affect the positioning of our shoulders. So we've got with that center part of the body, it's described as being like the hub of a wheel, but it's in more than two dimensions. When we turn horizontally, we affect the direction of movement in our arms. When we turn or rotate vertically, we affect the alignment of the pelvis. The next couple of exercises will actually use this movement to take us out of the vertical alignment and bring us back into it. Be careful with these, they're both quite strong exercises on our knees and our back. I'll try and demonstrate them quite big, but just move as far as you're comfortable. So this time, as I tilt my pelvis forwards, I sink down with a gentle extensions through the back and hips. I let my hips drop back until I feel my shoulders have come more to the vertical again, and I push up. And again, trying not to stiffen up in your upper back or shoulders, to pull yourself up, letting that movement of the hips downwards bring you up very gently, with that feeling of spaciousness in the upper part of the body. This time, as you push up, your arms pushed out, and then as your hips go back and you sink down, they get swung forwards. This is called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. It's an extension from your hips, your lower back, through your spine, out through your arms and your fingers, and then remember, just move as far as you're comfortable. And remember that principle of leaving a little bit of space at the end of the movement. If you practice these exercises regularly, you'll find that your body will condition for them. Don't be in a hurry for that. It's not worth wrecking your back just to go a little bit further. Be aware of those small changes within your body. Do one more of these. This time, as you come to the upright position, hands are palm down. We combine the horizontal and the vertical movements. You turn, then push your hips back so your hands slide forwards. Turn the opposite way, let the hips drop down, come back. It's called polishing the table. Nice and gently turn, hips dropping back, swinging around, drawing your arms around in a nice smooth circle. From the back, so you can see my hips are doing more easily here. So swing around. And very gentle. Again, remember that quality of movement. So rather than being exercised, your body's being very gently massaged. Quite difficult with these exercises that are a little bit stronger. So again, give yourself plenty of time to build. One more in each direction for polishing the table. And then a hamstring. So we gradually become more aware of subtle changes within the body, and these are the areas that we're more likely to be able to bring our intentionality to. And these are the movements of the building blocks of the bigger movement. So again, as we become more experienced, we're more able to notice these changes within the body. We build the movements from inside outwards. In Chinese medicine, it's said that our energy will follow our thoughts, and our body will follow our energy, showing that an awareness and an intentionality are central. In terms of these exercises, rather than it being a linear thing, think of these three treasures, as they're so called, of body, mind, and energy, supporting each other, like the three legs of a tripod. Mind is always going to be important, but we're not trying to force the body into doing something that goes against the patterns of movement that already exist. And any changes we make must be done over a period of time, very gently, with a kindness to ourselves. The quality of the movement can be a useful guide. I've talked about it being like being massaged. And a very common image that we use in Tai Chi is to imagine that we're moving in water. And that can also help with that smooth quality of movement. Now, from this position, turn one foot out, keep the width of your step, and step forwards with the other foot. And then just begin to transfer your weight forwards and backwards. With more experience, to begin with, don't bother too much about this, but don't move too far. But with experience, when you go back, you want 70% of your weight in the back leg. When you go forwards, you want 60%. The other thing to think about is that you're moving from the ground, and this is important. Try not to lean forward or backwards with the shoulders. To begin with, your upper body simply sits on the hips, sits into your hips. That implies that your upper body is quite passive. It's not entirely true. If we imagine moving in water, if I did nothing with my upper body, as I went forwards, my shoulders would get pushed back. So there has to be some adjustment. It's not an adjustment that we can make consciously. It's not like bending an arm or something like that. And this is again where the imagery can guide our intentions. And we can observe how our bodies respond to the image. If you imagine being in water, and as you go forward, you feel the pressure of the water against your chest and belly. How would that feel? And then as you go back, how would it feel against your back? And this will help you to begin to build an awareness of these subtle changes of movement, of energy within the upper part of the body. And again, at that point, we can recall that. Our memory is one of the aspects of mind that will feed into our intentions. Remember, our intentions are almost like instructions to the body. Move in this way, do this, do that. But the instructions should be very gentle. They're not shouted at the body, and again, cultivating the imagery, cultivating the memory is an important part of progression of these exercises. But again, you may find you're a bit stiff somewhere, having the intention for that flow of the movement to just engage with that, to dissolve away, to erode away tightness will be useful. When you go into your back foot this time, just simply raise your front toes. You can turn the front foot out a little bit. When you go forwards, push the back knee forward so your heel comes up. And this way, we begin to build more of the weight in one leg, keeping the alignment of the body. And remember, from the previous exercises, our hips dropping back is going to be key in that, and that will help us to not straining our shoulders. If I do this exercise again with this pole representing some kind of center line of the body, you'll see that again, I'm trying as much as possible to maintain that upright stance. It's a very common thing to find ourselves doing something like this, to lean forward or to lean back. But again, over a period of time, we'll become more familiar with these qualities of the body in line. And then this time, when you go into the front foot, just bring your back foot in, push out back, put the ball of your foot down, lower your heel, press gently into the floor and let your weight fall. And then bring the front foot in, heel, toes, and then press in and your weight fall. Trying to do all of this, maintaining that level quality in our hips and our pelvis. It's not a long step, it's not a stride, but just long enough to feel that you can actually notice the difference between one leg and another. Again, people with more experience notice that as you release more in your hips, you can in fact get a slightly longer stance, but it's never going to be a huge stride. Change over to have the other foot forwards and back to the fixed step. Notice if you've suddenly gone a couple of stages further on. It's very common to find ourselves when we change over and go, oh, we're going to go into the stepping. Go back to the original exercise. Just let that urge to rush ahead settle down into your body, to be replaced not by straining against it, not shouting at yourself, don't rush, but rather noticing slow, steady change between one foot or another. The feeling of just settling into the ground each time. Maybe even that little movement of pressing the foot into the floor as a prelude to the weight movement. So we're not trying to stop ourselves thinking, we're not trying to sort of argue with our thoughts. We're just trying to redirect them. Then beginning to raise toes and heel. All aspects of this art to do with body, mind, and energy are cultivated. This is a very gentle process, I think. Rather than thinking, like, I must do this, I must get that arm there, I must take this posture, or I must stop thinking, or I've got to move the energy. Think of how you might get a plant to grow in a pot by just considering what it needed and not forcing it, watering it, feeding it, whatever you need to do to a plant, with the idea that it's going to take a little while to do that. You'll find in the end that you progress much faster, much more effectively. Bringing your foot in. Imagine you're walking on thin ice, and what you want to try and do is you place the foot down, press in, and you test the ice before you commit. Give yourself just a few moments to reflect on this process. You can take a few steps through. You can either go forwards or backwards, it depends which way you have room. Then you put in, send out, plant the foot, transfer. Again, don't hum. Change the direction if you haven't done so already. Simply giving ourselves a chance to reflect on What is an everyday action for many of us? The act of walking can help us to draw our attention in to our body. And this benefits our lives by just establishing that there's a quiet space for our attention to come in. Good. Now, have your right foot forward. So mirror my movements. Start with your weight in your back foot. Fold your hands over your belly. Go forwards and feeling that wave-like movement moving through the body, coming up through your back, and out through the front of your body, pushing your elbows out and just separating the hands. And then coming back. This is called pigeon spreads its wings. If I do turn around so you can see from the side, you can see that my hands don't come right back. They just go out. They're still slightly in front of the shoulders. Feeling that pattern of expansion as you go forwards, belly, solar plexus and chest. And then as you go back, feeling the expansion in. You're familiar with what we call abdominal breathing or bellows breathing in Tai Chi. This is where we breathe. We take an in-breath by expanding in the belly, first of all, then in the solar plexus, then in the chest. You may find yourself slipping into that quite naturally. If you want to try it, then my suggestion would be round about here. Just see how it feels if you take a breath in. Is it comfortable? If it's not, then I'll do it again. And then breathing out whenever you want to. Gently sort of seeding the idea of how your breath and movement can begin to come together. But just recognizing, as always, that the way that we're moving and our posture will actually affect how we're breathing, and we don't want to create a tension between those different elements. The pigeon spreads its wings. One more time. And so breathing again is something that is cultivated. I sometimes think of intentions, particularly in relation to things like breathing, because we don't want to force anything. As rather than being, I describe them as being instructions, but maybe they're suggestions. What happens if I do this? Oh, it feels comfortable, that's fine. Doesn't feel comfortable, okay, I'll try something different, or I won't even think about our breath. My body's managed to breathe through the years so far, so I can trust it. So let's try that with the other foot forwards. You turn the back foot out, front foot forward, still with that width of steps, hips still supported. Drop your weight back into your rear foot. Feel the push that comes from the ground, coming up through your back. And then again, belly, solar plexus and chest. Moving your arms and then reversing there. Nice and gently, remembering that massaging quality of the movement. Remembering that feeling of moving through the One more time. And the image of moving through water will also offer a degree of resistance. And so we begin to experience a very subtle conditioning in both the body and these very subtle changes within the body and in the movement, the energy. Developing a kind of resilience, a fluid strength within ourselves. That again is something that is very key to Chinese medicine. The flow, the strength, and the harmony of the flow of energy is one of the things that is seen as being the basis of well-being. So once again, right foot forwards, hands dropping down by your sides this time. Push forwards, and as you go forwards, just letting your arms swing through. As you settle into the front foot, going back. As you settle into the back foot, you'll swing back. This is called fisherman castanet. Just aware of, again, subtle changes in the upper part of your body as your arms swing through. Where do you feel patterns of expansion and contraction? And if we want to build the movement, those subtle changes are where we start to bring our intention. The curve that your fingers are describing is a very natural response to our arms moving. They're just hanging from the shoulders here. We're not trying to lift the arms. But again, what I can try and do is to build those internal movements to push my arms further away. So I get an increase in my range of movement without the strain. Fisherman castanet. And this time, when you go back, turn a little bit to your left, draw your arms across. And again, building from the inside out. Push your arms up to about shoulder height. Let them drop down as you go forwards, brushing across your hip, expanding upwards and back. Describing kind of horizontal figure of 8 or infinity sign here. And if you can use that image, you might imagine the shape in front of you and just allowing your body to flow through that shape, particularly your arms. So there's many ways in which we can approach this use of our intentionality through direct instruction, through suggestion, through engaging memory of previous experiences, through the use of imagery, which we use is which is appropriate for us. Watching the movement, mirroring my movement can be another, having the intention to do what I do. And so now, try those two movements on the other side, left foot forwards, starting with fisherman castanet, straight forward and backwards. Not rushing. We were moving through water as though the air around you was thicker than normal. Like you're facing a light breeze and just encouraging your body to move gently against. And then turning. Using that expansion through your body, move your arms a little bit further and then down. Try not to strain, stiffen up in your shoulders or upper back, keeping your center of gravity dropping down through the ground, rooting down, being in a response from your body building upwards. It's a two-way pattern of movement of energy directed through the center of your body. We'll combine this with the stepping. I'm going to go forward, so I turn my front foot out. You can go backwards as your arms come up, bring the empty foot in, take the step, plant the foot, go into it. Same thing with the other foot. And if this is comfortable for you, and you can do so without risking falling or wobbling around, maybe just bringing the foot up near, steadying yourself by letting your hips drop back. Nice and easy and gently, keeping your pelvis level, allowing your center of gravity to drop. And then changing direction, take your time. So bring my foot in and then raise the knee. Bringing my foot in means that I have a moment here just to check the alignment of my body. And that just also slows me down just a little bit. Coming back to that quality posture of central equilibrium. Taking your time to do that. And then bring the feet. So central equilibrium, I mentioned it, when we come into central equilibrium, is a combination of body, mind, and energy. Once again, body nicely aligned with the pull of gravity, the center of gravity dropping. Mind beginning to settle into your body. There's this quality of stillness that begins to develop. Often just a momentary stillness, one that we can come back to. And a sense of the energy just settling a little bit. Sometimes life can get very frantic, and it's good to know how we can come back to this. It's usually just a momentary thing, as I said, but we learn to focus our attention inwards, to just touch that quality of central equilibrium. And the last exercise really emphasizes that. It's called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. The mountain can be a good image of central equilibrium. It combines a dynamic quality with stillness, quality of strength, but a spaciousness as well. These are all elements in Tai Chi and Qigong. So the exercise, sinking down and then pushing up, a bit like the wild goose. At the top of the movement, you bring your hands around, so you're going to hold the ball against your chest. And your elbows drop, bringing your hands in and sinking down. And just using whatever image, whatever awareness of what's happening in the body to help you return. And this is something that I think we can take away from the session with us. Those moments in the day when we could do just that little bit of stillness, that little bit of being settled for a few moments before we move on. We practice doing this, we get better at doing that. Cultivating what in Tai Chi we refer to as the stillness within the movement. Bubble around. And thank you very much for joining in, everybody. Again, as always, if you have any questions, please do feel free to get in touch. But I'll sign off now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.